Hello and welcome to the 2017 Personal Health Summit. If you're looking to become healthier and happier than you've ever been before, then you've come to the right place. The Personal Health Summit features an international collaboration of leading doctors, scientists, researchers, and health ambassadors, all working to change the conversation and transform world health. Every expert here is to share with you their knowledge, wisdom, and expertise to help you learn, grow, and become empowered to make informed choices and take control of your health and your life. Our mission, first and foremost, is to help you recognize that you are unique, that there are many different avenues to achieving and maintaining optimal health, and that there is one that's right for you at this very moment in time. Being informed is being empowered. And when you have the right information, you have the power to change your health, your happiness, and your life. The Personal Health Summit is made possible by the generous support of the Ultimate Human Foundation, who's committed to educating and empowering people all over the globe to be proactive about their personal health, providing truly personalized health solutions for every human being on the planet with accessibility and affordability, and orchestrating and nurturing a global gathering of the world's key health experts and thought leaders at the vanguard of their respective fields, where solutions can be found to transform the future health of humanity. The Personal Health Summit is also made possible by PH360.me, the world's most advanced health assistant that interacts with you via your smartphone, just like a best friend who can calculate the best nutrition and lifestyle choices to most favorably and easily influence your unique hormones, genes, and personal state of health, empowering you to make easy, accurate lifestyle decisions to improve your sleep, energy, mood, weight, digestion, and well-being. Now, on to today's guest. Marci Shimoff is a #1 New York Times bestselling author, a world-renowned transformational teacher, and an expert on happiness, success, and unconditional love. Marci's books include the runaway bestsellers Happy for No Reason, Love for No Reason, and 6 titles in the super successful Chicken Soup for the Women's Soul series. Her books have sold more than 15 million copies worldwide in 33 languages, have topped all the major bestseller lists, and have been on the New York Times bestseller list for a total of 118 weeks. Marci is one of the best-selling female non-fiction authors of all time. Marci is also the host of the national PBS television special called Happy for No Reason, is a featured teacher in the movie The Secret, and is the narrator for the award-winning film Happy. Marci currently co-leads a worldwide program called Your Year of Miracles with thousands of participants from 42 countries for living a life of miracles. Marci's inspired millions of people around the world and is dedicated to helping people live more empowered and joy-filled lives. Marci Shimoff, thank you so much for being here with us today. I know the listeners are in for such a treat. It's great to see you again. I always enjoy our conversations, which today is all about happiness and being happy for no reason. Marci Shimoff, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Matt. It's always great to be with you. It always makes me happy for a fabulous reason.
Well, Marci, I'd love to jump into this conversation about happiness to start with. What is happiness and how do we get to be happy?
Yeah. So happiness is the thing that people from all walks of life, all around the world, all throughout history, it's the one thing that we've wanted more than anything, this thing called happiness. And I define happiness perhaps a little bit differently than most people. To me, I use the phrase happy for no reason, which means that you have an inner state of peace and well-being that doesn't depend on your circumstances. So you're not waiting for something out there to make you happy. There's an internal state of happiness that you bring to the world. So in other words, rather than looking for the world to give you happiness, you bring your inner happiness to all of life.
I love that, Marci, because that's so important at the moment. We really, determine a lot of our happiness based on circumstances, right? If our boss is being tough to us, then we might be stressed or sad or upset, or if we're having a tough time at home with relationships, or maybe if the money in our bank account isn't what we want it to be. There's a lot of things that dictate how happy we are. So what things like that determine this, Marci? Where do we start for those who are listening into this right now? Where do we actually start with, what things in life do we want to be considering that we actually don't have to be attached to so much?
Yeah, so Matt, it's a really great question. And in order to answer that, I want to first talk about something that's been found by science in the last 20 years or so. And I think it's really important for everybody to know this. And that is that we all have what's called a happiness set point. And that means no matter what happens to you, whether it's good or bad, your happiness will hover around your happiness set point. It's like a thermostat setting. You might go a little up, you might go a little down, but you'll tend to hover around that set point. And so while we're all busy trying to make our lives look a particular way in order to be happy, that really doesn't do it for us. What really does it for us is raising your happiness set point. So here's how the happiness set point is determined. It's only 10% your circumstances. Now that's the piece that everybody's so busy trying to change in order to become happy. You know, I'll marry the right person, I'll make more money, I'll win the lottery, I'll lose 20 pounds. That works for a little while, but soon, you know, you'll return to your original happiness set point unless you do something to change that set point. So the 10% of your set point is circumstances. 50%, huge amount, is your DNA. It's your genes. It's what you were born with. The other 40% is your habits of thoughts and behavior. Now that's where we can most influence our happiness, by changing our habits of thoughts and behavior. But I'm going to take it a step further, and I know you're going to agree with me on this, Matt. There are progressive scientists in the field of epigenetics, which is all about what you're about, PH 360. It's all about the epigenetics. And that 50% that we're born with, that we think, oh, that's just fixed, I'm either happy or I'm not through heredity, that can be influenced and changed by our habits of thoughts and behavior. And what that says, that a full 90% of our happiness is we're able to change. It doesn't have to do with making our circumstances look perfect. And that to me is fabulous news. That means that no matter who you are, no matter whether you're, you know, really depressed right now, whether you're just so-so, everything's okay, but you're not like ecstatically happy, or whether you're already really happy, no matter where you are on the happiness continuum, you can always raise your happiness set point. I think that should be headline news.
I think that should be headline news too, Marci. Well, it's great to know there's hope for us all, no matter where we are and no matter where we're born into or what our genes are. It's certainly a great thing to hear. Marci, tell me a bit more about this happiness set point, and for those who are listening in right now. So how is our happiness set point determined, or how do we know if I'm hovering here and you're hovering here? Like, how do we sort of measure that, or what components are involved in happiness?
Yeah, so it's really an internal assessment. Happiness, we can tell, it's a biophysical experience as well. So we could look at your brain patterns. We could look at your heart rhythms. We could look at your body chemistry. And from those markers, we could tell a lot about your happiness level. But most people aren't going to go out and do all of those things. You can assess, you know whether you're happy. You know whether you're happy for a reason or whether you're happy for no reason. I actually have an assessment on my website that anybody can get where you can see where you are on the happiness continuum. And what I found, Matt, is that I found there are 21 main habits that anyone can practice to raise their happiness set point. And I'll share a lot of them with you today. I love being practical, as I know you do too. So we'll get really into the nitty-gritty practical. But what I found is that they broke down into 7 main areas of happiness. And would you like me to share with you those 7 areas right now? So I'd
love for you. For those listening right now, if you're not driving, please grab pen and paper out. This is going to be very, very important information. Marci, please share with us all about this. I'd love to hear more about it.
So now, I've found that people have a hard time remembering 7 of anything, so I created a little analogy or metaphor for building, I call it building your inner home for happiness. And this is how you can remember these 7 main areas of happiness. They relate to the 7 main areas of a house. So every house has a foundation. It has 4 corner pillars. It has a roof, and it has a garden. And here's how that relates to the 7 main areas of your happiness. The foundation has to do with taking responsibility for your life and for your happiness. Do you show up as a victim in life or as a victor of life? And the way you can tell if you're a victim in life, there are 3 main signs of being a victim. You blame, you shame. That means blaming yourself, basically. Or you complain, or any combination of those 3. The more you find yourself in blame, shame, or complain, the more you are in a victim mode and not taking responsibility for your happiness. See, a lot of people will say, well, I can't be happy because I don't have enough money, or I can't be happy because I don't have good enough health, or I can't be happy because I'm not in a fulfilling relationship. And I can tell you that I've interviewed thousands of people who are what I call happy for no reason, deeply unconditionally happy. And some of them don't have money, and some of them don't have health, and some of them don't have relationships, and they're happy anyway. And that's real freedom. So that's the foundation, is taking responsibility for your happiness. The 4 corner pillars are the pillars of the mind. What are your thoughts like? Do they support your happiness? The body. What's your physiology like? Are you eating the right foods for you? Are you exercising properly for your body type, which is what PH 360 is so fantastic with. One of the many things it's so great with. So the body has a big, big role in our happiness. We can talk more about that in a little bit. Then there's our emotions, our feelings, our heart. Are you living with gratitude, with forgiveness, with kindness, with love? All of that affects our happiness. And then there's the pillar of the soul or spirit. Do you feel connected to a bigger energy of life? So that's 5 of our 7 happiness main areas. The 6th area is the roof of your home for happiness, and that has to do with your purpose in life. Are you living an inspired life? Are you doing what you were here on this planet to do? And I believe that every single one of us is put on this planet for a reason. And are you doing what it is you're here for? And then finally, the last area of happiness has to do with the people you surround yourself with. It's like a garden. That's the garden. Are you surrounded by people who are like roses and gardenias? You know, they just feel great to be around. Or are you surrounded by a lot of weeds or toxic people who really drag you down? So what I recommend that everybody do is you look at those 7 areas and you say, which ones am I best at? Which ones am I worst at? And you start where you're the weakest, because that's where you'll get the most return on your investment of time and energy.
That's incredible, Marci. Thank you so much for sharing that with us today. That's such a holistic view of everything to do with our journey on this life, and it's really important to look at all those areas. So I hope you all got that down on pen and paper, or can listen to a replay of this again if you need to. Marci, for those who are listening in who've either writing those 7 areas down now, if they unpack this after the episode and find out the areas where they may need a bit more work or may need to spend a bit more time and attention, what's some advice, or where do they start in those areas? So let's say we've got a list of some things in a certain area of my physical body or my mind. What do I do there? Like, what's my next steps from that? Or where do I go when I do find out the areas I need to improve?
Well, so in each of the areas, I found that there are 3 main happiness habits. And you can find which one of those you should start with. One thing I tell people to do is don't try to make too many changes at once. It just kind of puts people in overwhelm. So pick 1 or 2 things that resonate with you and work on those. So, I mean, we could go through each of those 7 areas, and I could give you 1 thing to do for each of those areas if you want.
That would be incredible, Marci. If you would do that, that would be very, very awesome, I think. I'd love to. Thank you.
I will do that. I want to put this in one big context, though. And that context is that everything in life is energy. As you well know, Matt, life, everything is all about energy. And the universe is always responding to our energetic vibration. Now, happiness is a high energetic vibration. You know, you get around people who are deeply happy, and it feels good to be in their presence. It's the energy. And you get around people who are really not happy, and that feels not very good. Well, we have our own sort of gauge, our own GPS, if you will, for whether something's going to make us happier by checking in with which energy it's feeding. So there's only 2 main energies in life. There's the energy of expansion, and there's the energy of contraction. We cannot create greater happiness when we move into the energy of contraction. And I want to just do a simple little exercise with everybody. And Matt, will you do this with us? So everybody's watching. It's really simple, and you're going to feel stupid doing it, but do it anyway. It's just a great little exercise. I want you to curl up into a little ball. Get really tight, really contracted into a little ball. Okay. Now your energy is very contracted right now. And on the count of 3, I want you to say, I feel happy. Ready? 1, 2, 3. I feel happy. Okay, now sit up normally. And notice, did you feel very happy when you were like that? Probably not too happy. You might have felt a little stupid, but not so happy, right?
Right.
That's what happens when our energy is contracted. Now we're going to do the opposite. I want you to get expanded. Just put your arms out, open up your chest, go real wide with your arms now. You got to do it. Good, good, good. On the count of 3, I want you to say, I feel depressed. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. I feel depressed. All right. Did you feel depressed?
Not at all.
Probably not. You probably felt pretty good, because when your energy is expanded, you feel great. So does this mean I want you to walk around like that all day long? No, they will lock you up. But what it does mean is that as you're making decisions in your life, you want to ask the question, is this going to lead to me feeling more expanded? Now, it may not in the immediate short term. For example, sometimes I just don't feel like going to exercise. It's just not what I want to do. It takes energy and effort. Maybe I don't feel like I've got it. But if I ask myself, is that going to make me feel more expanded in the long run? The answer is always yes. And that's what motivates me to go exercise, and then I feel great. So make your decisions based on, does this expand me? Same with our relationships. They say that we become the average of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. So what I suggest is that you make a list of the people that you spend a lot of time with. And if they're not really adding to your own sense of joy and happiness and expansion in life, then you might want to reevaluate your relationship with them. And perhaps, some of those people are family members. You can't get rid of them. But maybe what you want to do is you want to create more boundaries around the time that you spend with them. So that's just one overriding principle that we all can use is, does this expand me or contract me?
Marci, that's so important, and thanks for bringing that into our awareness. And I'm sure that everybody who went through that exercise really felt that, and it's such a great thing to have in our minds all the time. So, Marci, I'd love for you just to delve in, because it's a big conversation, happiness, and we always like to just know if there's specific areas and things we can do. We like just the little tangible stuff we can act on. So, if you wouldn't mind just walking us through each of those 7 pillars and something we can do in those areas would be great.
I will be happy to, Matt. I will be absolutely happy to. But I want to, if I can, I want to just tell one quick story.
Please.
Because right now I can imagine that if I were watching this, I might be thinking to myself, she was probably just born this way. She just, she's just like this cheerleader type of person, and she was always happy. And the reality is I was not. I was born depressed. I came out of the womb with existential angst. I was not a happy camper. And I had a great family and great circumstances, but I just had this sort of dark cloud around me, and I just couldn't shake it. And it was with me throughout my whole growing up years. And I thought, this is it. I'm doomed. I'm not ever going to be happy. And when I was in my 20s, I decided that I would set some goals for myself. And that once I reached those goals, then I'd be super happy. Like most people do. We talked about earlier, I'll be happier when. I'll be happier when syndrome. And I set 5 goals, and I'll just share them with you really fast, because some people might relate to these. I wanted to be really successful doing a career that was helping people. I wanted to have a great husband or life partner. I wanted wonderful friends. Was number 3. Number 4 was a comfortable home. And number 5 was the equivalent of Halle Berry's body. Now, I got 4 out of the 5. I don't have Halle Berry's body, but I have a healthy body for which I'm grateful. And I have to say, I worked really hard. I just got all my ducks in a row, and I got all of those. And I had a major awakening, turning point moment in my life. And it was in 1998. When all those things were happening. I was at a great house and a great friends and relationship and all of that. And I had 3 books at the same time on the New York Times bestseller list. And I had just finished writing my 4th book. I had just given a speech to 8,000 people and had autographed 5,432 books. The client had had a massage therapist there massaging my hand so I didn't get carpal tunnel as I was autographing these books. And honestly, I felt like an author rock star. And I remember after autographing that very last book, Matt, I went up to my hotel room, which was the penthouse suite that my client had gotten for me. And I walked over to the huge windows that overlooked Lake Michigan. I was in Chicago, and it was a beautiful panoramic view. And I looked out the window, and then I turned around, and I fell onto the bed. And I fell onto the bed, and I burst into tears. And I burst into tears because I realized I had everything that I thought I had needed to be happy, and I still wasn't. And it was kind of the end of the road. I could no longer fool myself into thinking that just that next thing was going to bring me what I was wanting. You know, so many people live on this cycle of adrenaline, just the next thing. I'm going to be happy when this happens. And I knew that wasn't going to work. So I dropped everything and I said, I'm going to research this thing for myself. You know, they say we teach what we most want to learn. And I went out and I started interviewing people who had what I thought I wanted, that unconditional deep happiness. And I read all the research on happiness. And then I started doing everything that I was learning. And I will tell you, Matt, within a short period of time, my happiness level started raising and raising and raising. I would say back then, if you were giving me a grade in the American grading system in happiness, I would be failing. I would have gotten like a D in, failing grade. Now I am a solid A. And I don't say that in a way to gloat. I say that in a way to inspire people that it's possible. You know, I'm still always working on myself. I'm still always wanting to know what's next. What can I do next? But I'm solid. And that is because these habits that I'm about to share with you, they work. They're universal. Doesn't matter who you are, where you are, they work. So I just want to give hope to those of you who may not feel particularly happy right now or kind of feel like, this isn't really going to be for me.
Well, Marci, thank you for sharing that because it's so important to hear. You're exactly right. A lot of people that are in these circumstances, we would relate that to people who are successful. Of course, they're happy, but it's really great to hear, your actual life story and life journey there. So thank you for sharing that with us. And it really does set the context to anyone, no matter what circumstances they're in. Again, if we judge our circumstances by our definition of happiness, then we might be heading up the wrong creek with the wrong paddle. So, Marci, thank you for that. And I would really love to get some tangible tips for the people today about each of the different areas and the pillars of what you shared earlier. So people get your pens and papers out. And I'd love just to unpack a few of these areas, Marci. Thank you so much.
Good. Why don't we go through all 7 of those areas and I'll give you one thing to do in each of those 7 areas.
Fantastic.
Does that sound good?
Fantastic.
Okay. So the first area has to do with your foundation. That was whether you are a victim or a victor in life. And remember, I said that there were 3 main things: blaming, shaming, and complaining. And shaming just means blaming yourself. I'm never good at this. I can't do that. I don't like, all those kinds of things that we tell ourselves. So here's a little game that you can play that is an amazingly powerful self-awareness game. And I recommend that you play it with your family or your coworkers. I learned this. I went to a workshop once, and this is where I first experienced this. What you do is you just have a little bowl out, and you get $1 bills if you're U.S. or if you're wherever you are, your own nationality, get the equivalent of a $1 bill. Get a whole bunch of them, and every time you find yourself blaming anything, that includes making excuses, justifying, or shaming yourself, or complaining, you put $1 into that bowl. And you do that with all the people around you as well. The first time I did this in a workshop, the very first day, I went through $13. I was shocked. I mean, here I do this stuff. I teach this stuff, and I was really shocked. But it became quite aware. So by the second day, I only put $7 in the bowl. And by the third day, I think I was down to $4. And the fourth day, I was down to $1. So, and then at the end of the week, I do it for a week. And at the end of the week, you can donate the money to your favorite charity. And what this does is it just gets you into a state of awareness about that old habit we have of blaming, shaming, and complaining. And it's a really great game to do if you have kids, especially, because you want them to have an awareness of this early on in life. So
that's
pretty
beautiful.
Simple.
Very simple, very powerful, Marci. And that, I guess one of the big conversations is bringing all this into our awareness today. So thanks for sharing that with us and bringing all these things into our awareness. Marci, what's the second one? Tell us about that.
Okay. Second one has to do with our thoughts. And that's the pillar of the mind. Now, the average person has 60,000 thoughts a day. It's a lot of thoughts. And for the average person, 95% of those are the same thoughts that you had yesterday and the day before. Now, what percentage of those would you think in a given day are negative? So imagine what percentage of your thoughts, now not you, Matt, because I've spent a lot of time around you and you're one of the most amazingly positive and deeply happy for no reason people I've ever known in my life. You are the walking example, epitome of what I talk about in Happy for No Reason. But what I'll say is for the average person, research has shown that 80% of our thoughts are negative. So if that's you, if that's any of you listening, I don't want you to feel bad about yourself right now. That's the word. That's just adding insult to injury. So don't start beating yourself up for, oh my God, I'm so negative. Because the reality is we inherited this tendency towards the negative. It's called the negativity bias. And we've inherited it from our caveman ancestors who had to remember the negatives in order to stay alive. But we don't need that anymore. It's quite an antiquated system. And so what I found is that happy people tend to really focus on the positives and create new neural pathways for the positives rather than the negatives. Most of us have these old negative neural pathways. And a dear friend of mine is a man named Rick Hansen. He wrote a great book on happiness called Hardwiring Happiness. And he says that it's like our minds are like Velcro for the negative. The negative just sticks to our minds like Velcro. And yet they're like Teflon for the positive. The positives just slide off of us. So, for example, if you get 10 compliments in a day and 1 criticism, what do you tend to remember at the end of the day? Most people remember the criticism. Happy people remember the compliments. So here's what you want to do. You want to start developing more pathways for the positive. And you need to do that by taking in and savoring the positive. It takes at least 20 seconds for us to register the positive deeply, nowhere near as long as it does. So the negatives register much more quickly than the positives. So what I want you to do is I want you to do this. I want you to be on the lookout for the positives. Actually make it a game. Like, how many cool things can I find around me today? And then I want you to savor it for at least 20 seconds. So if somebody gives you a compliment, instead of saying, if they say, oh, that's a great shirt, instead of saying, this old thing, what you want to do is say, oh, thank you. You know, I always have loved this color and it makes me feel really happy when I put it on. So you actually want to take it in, receive it, and then add on more to it. So be on the lookout and savor it for at least 20 seconds. One of the women that I interviewed for Happy for No Reason said that she pretends that she's the Academy Awards committee. And every day her job is to give out at least 5 Academy Awards. And so what she does is she's on the lookout for who could she give an award to. So for example, she might be in a park taking a walk and there's the cutest little fluffy white furry dog that passes by. And she'll stop and say to the dog's owner, oh my God, that's the cutest dog I have seen all day. I'm going to give your dog the cutest dog of the day award. Or she doesn't even have to say that out loud, but she thinks it to herself. And she just makes that, she just really adds in that savoring of the experience. And you will find over time that will develop new neural pathways in your brain for the positive so that you will more naturally see all the positive things that are out there. Here's the deal. We have 2 billion bits of information that come to us every second, I think it is. And we pick up only a little tiny fraction of a percentage of what's out there. There is a lot of good out there. But if you're in the habit of seeing only the bad or thinking only the bad, that's what you're going to notice. So we want to get in the habit of noticing the good. And what you'll find is more good starts coming to you.
Beautiful, Marci. Thank you so much. So be on the lookout. And if you need to hand out Academy Awards each day, then do that too. So beautiful, Marci. I hope you can all take that on board and start making a list of all the things that you can be happy about right now in your life. Marci, what's the third?
Okay, the third area, let's talk about the body. This is one that I know you have a particular passion for making sure that people are feeling that happiness in their bodies. There are a number of things that we can do for our bodies for greater happiness. I agree with I know your perspective that that we're very, very individual and that we need to find what's right for each of us. So I can't universally prescribe what's right for everybody, but what I can say is, let me give you a few of the universals. Universal number one is sleep. The research shows that your level of happiness today has more to do with the quality of sleep that you got last night than it has to do with your income level or your marital status.
Yeah, wow.
People always think, oh, well, my income level or my relationship, that's going to deeply affect my happiness. Doesn't affect it anywhere near as much as the quality of your sleep. So, sleep is important. I know we all need different amounts of sleep. There's also a timing to sleep. For me, for example, I know that when I go to bed earlier, on the earlier side of things, by 10 o'clock, for example, I am the happiest person in the world the next day. So good news is I just got back from a very, very long plane ride, and I went to sleep last night at 8:30, and I am feeling really happy.
Beautiful, Marci. That was the third pillar. We're up to the fourth.
Yeah. Okay.
About that.
And by the way, I have done the health type test, and it is so incredibly valuable. And I am a huge fan of the whole system, everything that you do, and it's really helped me enormously. So I just really encourage everybody to do the health type test and to see all the great, what's good for your body. It's so revealing. And when I live that way, when I live in accord with what's right for my body, everything is great.
Thank you, Marci. Beautiful. Tell us about number four.
Fourth area. The fourth area is the area of the heart. It's the area of our feelings. Do you live with an open heart, with love, with gratitude, with appreciation, with forgiveness? And there's a group called the Institute of Heart Math. They're the world's leading researchers on the heart and how it affects our happiness. And they have actually found that when we are really happy, our heart goes into what's called heart rhythm coherence. And when we're upset, angry, frustrated, our heart goes into heart rhythm incoherence, very erratic heart rhythms. They've also found that when you are in heart rhythm coherence, when you're feeling happy for just 5 minutes, when you're feeling gratitude, appreciation for just 5 minutes, it strengthens your immune system for up to 6 hours. But when you're feeling angry and frustrated, it can weaken your immune system for up to 6 hours. So just these short experiences have very long-lasting effects in our day. So Matt, why don't I take us through, if it's okay with you, a very simple exercise that anybody can do any time of the day to put yourself into heart rhythm coherence and start building the inner experience of love, of heart opening that will create more happiness in the long run.
Would love that, Marci. You would love it. Please.
Okay. So this is a practice that I learned from the Institute of Heart Math. It's called the Inner Ease Technique. It's a very, very simple practice. And it'll take just a couple of minutes to do. It won't even take 5 minutes, just a few minutes that we can do together. So here's the key. If you're watching this, I want you to do this practice along with us, because I guarantee you it's very boring to just sit and watch us do it. But it's much more interesting if you have the experience yourself. So I hope that you listen and do this with us. So Matt, will you do it with me?
Absolutely, Marci. I'm ready.
Okay. All right. So before we start, I want you all to just notice how you feel. How do you feel in your body? How are you feeling right now? Then I'm going to ask you to compare it to how you feel when we're done with just a couple of minutes of this practice. So it works best with your eyes closed, though you can do it with your eyes open. And you can do this anytime throughout the day, even if your eyes are open. But for now, we're going to do it with our eyes closed just to get a deeper experience of it. So I'd like you to please close your eyes. And it's only 3 steps. The first step is to simply place the palm of your hand over your heart. Now that simple act of putting your hand on your heart starts the flow of a chemical called oxytocin. And oxytocin is known as the love hormone because it's what we have more of when we feel love for other people, when we feel bonded or connected. Mothers who are breastfeeding have lots of oxytocin, or when we make love, we have lots of oxytocin. But just right now, when you're sitting with your hand on your heart, you're actually stimulating the flow of oxytocin in your body. Now, the second step is to imagine that you're breathing in and out through the center of your heart. So just imagine that your breath is coming into your heart and going out of your heart. At your own pace, breathing into your heart, breathing out of your heart. Now, some people have an easy time picturing the breath coming in and out of their heart, visualizing it. Other people have a better time just feeling it. Doesn't matter whether you're picturing it or feeling it. In any case, just imagine that your breath is going in and out of your heart. You may already start to be feeling different. Now, the third and final step is on each inhale, imagine that you're breathing in love, gratitude, and ease. On your exhale, you can just exhale normally as though you're exhaling out of your heart. But on each inhale, breathe into your heart love, gratitude, and ease. You can either, on the inhale, when you picture love, gratitude, or feel love, gratitude, and ease, if you want, you can picture someone or something that allows you to feel that love, gratitude, and ease. Or you can just silently say the words to yourself and it'll have a similar effect. So 2 more times, breathing deeply into your heart, love, gratitude, and ease. And exhaling out of your heart. One last time, breathing into your heart, savoring, taking in love, gratitude, and ease. And exhaling. And you can gently now take your hand away from your heart. And when you feel ready, you can slowly open your eyes. And as you open your eyes, just notice, how do you feel right now? How do you feel in your body? How do you feel emotionally? How do you feel any different than you felt just a couple of minutes ago? And so, Matt, I asked you if you would do this along with me, so I'm hoping you're willing to play and be my guinea pig here.
Of course.
So, Matt, how do you feel different now than you did a couple minutes ago before we started this?
I feel very relaxed. I feel very calm, and I feel very at peace with whatever it's going to be.
Great. Okay. All of those, by the way, are signs of being into what science now calls the love response. You know, there is a physiological state that science identified years ago called the stress response, and it's got its own physiological markers. Well, Dr. Eva Selhub from Harvard found that there's also the love response. When we're really in this state of what I call happy for no reason, we go into the love response. And what you just said, peace, feeling more calm, feeling more grounded, centered, all of that are signs of the love response. Some people may have felt physiological changes. Maybe you feel tingling in your hands and feet. Maybe you feel a warmth around your heart. All of these are also signs of being more and more in the love response. Now, here's what I'm going to say about this exercise. If you do it just once, it's a nice experience. Nothing's going to really change in your life, though. But if you were to do this every day for the next couple of weeks. And I'd suggest maybe 2 or 3 times a day, maybe once in the morning, once in the afternoon, once in the evening. And it only takes 2 minutes, as you saw. Over a period of 2 weeks, you would have started to habituate the love response as a default state, more and more where you go back to and live from. And that's where we see dramatic change. That's where your happiness set point can truly be raised. So you may want to have that be one of the things that you take away with you today, that you go home, you may be at home right now, but that you leave this conversation and you, with the commitment to yourself, to stop 3 times a day. I do this when I'm standing in line at the grocery store. I just put my hand on my heart. Nobody knows what I'm doing. I like maybe hold my necklace as though I'm holding something. It doesn't matter. And I breathe in and out through my heart, and I breathe in love, gratitude, and ease while I'm standing in line at the grocery store. And, that's when I'm not reading the People magazine when I'm standing in line. I do this one instead. So do this a few times a day and just use your own life as an experiment and see how it works for you.
Marci, this is such empowering information you're bringing today. Thank you so much for being on this show, and thank you so much for bringing all this to us. So Marci, we're talking through the 7 pillars. We're unpacking them all. We're up to number 5. Please talk us through that. Where are we at here?
All right. So we have the foundation, which was not being a victim, the blame, shame, and complain. We have our mind, our thoughts, our body, our heart, our feelings. And now we're on to the 5th one, which is our soul, our spirit. Do you feel connected to a greater energy in the universe, whether you call it God, the divine, creative intelligence, nature, does not matter, oneness, whatever you call it, doesn't matter. But it's that feeling that you are part of this greater energy and that it is, in fact, a benevolent and loving universe. Einstein said that the most important question you can ask yourself is this a loving or benevolent universe? Is this a benevolent universe? And what I found is that happy people will always say yes to that question. That doesn't mean that everything goes their way. That doesn't mean that they're always happy about what's happening. But it means that in the long run, they believe it's a benevolent universe. And if things that are happening to them may not be what they want, but that they believe that there's a higher purpose in it. So I'm going to give you 2 things that you can do in this arena. And the first is you can ask yourself, you can just try it on and make the assumption that this is a loving and benevolent universe. And if that's the case, and things aren't necessarily going the way you want them to go, ask this question, and you may want to write this down. If this were happening for a higher purpose, what would that purpose be? So if this really is a benevolent universe and you just lost your job, what might be the higher purpose in that? Well, maybe there's another job out there that's a whole lot better for you. And maybe you had to, be torn away from your old job to be able to be open to finding the new job. I often find that even people who've gone through a crisis, and when I ask my audiences, how many of you have ever gone through a crisis? Everybody raises their hand. And then I say, and looking back, how many of you all have seen that crisis has ended up being one of the most important and good turning points in your life? Everybody raises their hand. Well, here's the difference. People who are happier know when it's actually happening to them. They know that ultimately there's a benevolence in the universe, and they go with that. So they trust in the universe. So that's one thing you can do. And then the second thing you can do is meditate. Meditation is a fantastic practice to connect you up with the greater, larger energy of the universe. And there are lots and lots of meditations out there. I have meditation and Happy for a few different meditations and Happy for No Reason. You could check those out. I know, Matt, you've also found that meditation is individual, just like exercise is.
Thank you, Marci. It's a beautiful thing. Number 5 is very, very important. And there's, just like the foods and exercise are different for different people, so is meditation. Some people have very different brain types to others. And so some people will find it very difficult to sit in silence for a long period of time because their brain needs such stimulation. And they can do more of an active style meditation, which may actually just be something more like walking or being in nature to get the same benefits as someone who might sit in silence. So again, you can find out all that at healthtypetest.org as to which sorts of things are best for you and for your brain and for your health and happiness. So thank you, Marci, for that. And it's such an important conversation, this number 5, that there is, always something greater than us, whether we are aware of it at the time or not. And sometimes with our circumstances, we tend to get a little bit caught up in the moment, whereas, from the larger perspective and usually in hindsight, it's certainly a gift that's wrapped up in something else that looks different at the time. So thank you for sharing number 5, Marci, for those tangible tips. What are we at with number 6?
All right. Number 6 is the roof to your inner home for happiness. And the roof has to do with your purpose in life. Are you living a passionate life? Are you inspired? Do you wake up with inspiration for your day? And it's very, very important that even if you're not doing work that you love, that you're doing something in your life that allows you to feel that inspiration. Maybe it's working with animals. Maybe your work itself isn't that inspiring, but you can do work with animals in your volunteer time. But ideally, you want to have work that is what you're on the planet for. There's a term in India called dharma. It's a Dharma. It's a Vedic word that basically means your life purpose, your calling. What are you here for? And so ideally, you want to find, what is your dharma? What is it that you're here for? But that changes. It's not the same throughout your whole life. And I love to use the example of my father. Can I tell another quick story?
Please, Marci.
So my father always taught us to do work that we loved. And he was a dentist, and he absolutely loved dentistry. He looked forward to going to work every day. Well, he retired at age 72. And I don't know if you're aware of the statistics about what happens to people when they retire, but generally when they retire, how do I say this? The statistics are that when people retire, they die. They don't die because they're suddenly a day older. They die because they've lost that meaning or purpose or passion in life. So my dad said, well, that's not going to happen to me. And he analyzed what he loved about being a dentist. And he realized that what he loved about being a dentist was working with his hands in small, intricate ways and being an artist. He felt like dentistry was doing artwork. He had the most beautiful fillings ever. So he decided, okay, I love working with my hands in intricate ways and being artistic. So at age 72, he took up needlepoint. And he became a master at needlepoint. He would go into my sister's bedroom, which they had turned into his needlepoint office. And he put on his dental magnifying glasses every morning, and he would sit down and do his needlepoint. I remember one time when he was 85, I came home one day. I came back to my parents' house one day to visit them, and he was working on his newest needlepoint. And it was his most intricate ever. It was about that wide. It was wider than the screen goes, that high, and really, really intricate. And I said, Dad, this is really hard. This is your hardest one ever. How long is it going to take you to finish? And he was a really methodical person. And he said, well, honey, I figured that out. And at the pace that I'm currently going, it's going to take me 4 years to complete. This was an 85-year-old man starting a 4-year project. Did he finish it? Absolutely. And that needlepoint, he finished it at age 89. And now it hangs proudly in my living room. And Matt, you've seen it. And it's just, it's about finding your passion. And that was his passion.
Well, Marci, thank you for bringing that into our awareness as number 6. It's so important, to have our dharma or our purpose there. For those who are listening at home, some of you guys might be in your flow and in passion and purpose right now. If you're not, it's okay. And as Marci shared, it changes throughout our lifetime. So don't be so attached to it, but it's really important that you're involved in things that are really happy and really meaningful for you right now. So please find out what that is. Take some time, and there's some great tools and exercises out there. I really want everyone to go and check out Marci's stuff. Marci, where's the best website for people to go to find out more about what you're talking about today?
So you can go to happyfornoreason.com. That's very simple. happyfor noreason.com. And on there is that happiness assessment that I mentioned earlier in our conversation, and all 21 of the happiness habits that I have, and exercises and practices to go along with them. And all of that is in a workbook that's my free gift to you. So that's at happyfornoreason.com.
Thank you, Marci. We're here today on the Health Lounge with Marci Shimoff, talking about everything to do with happiness and being happy for no reason and everything in between that. please go ahead and like our Facebook page if you haven't already at The Health Lounge, and go ahead and do the health type test at thehealthtypetest.org to find out which type you are and the things that can help keep you healthy and happy. So, Marci, we're up to number 7 in terms of the pillars of happiness. What's number 7? Can you talk us through that and give us
a tangible drum roll for the very last one. Drum roll. Here we go. So number 7 is our garden for our home for happiness, and it has everything to do with who you're surrounding yourself with. Now, every parent who's listening right now knows that you want your children to hang out with the right people, right? Why is that important? Because you know how much they're influenced by the people around them. We as adults are the exact same way. There's something called emotional contagion, and it's a scientific concept that shows that we catch the emotions of the people around us just like we catch their colds. So be careful. Who are you around? And if you're around people who are negative, you need to create certain protections and boundaries for yourself. You might want to say to them, hey, you're welcome to have your own experience of life, but I'm on this happiness journey right now, and I can only listen to about 3 minutes worth a day of complaining. And then we're going to have to move on. So, there are certain things that you can do with people to create energetic boundaries with them. And so I do recommend that you make a list of the people who are supportive of your happiness. And I also am a big believer in support groups, mastermind groups. I teach a program called Your Year of Miracles with my business partner, Deborah Poneman. And it's a wonderful program where we have over 2,000 people from 62 countries around the world that are focusing on each other's living a miraculous life. What are the miracles you want to create? And the power that happens when we come together in small or large groups with people who are happy, who are raising their happiness or their vibrational level and helping support you. It's remarkable. We are not in this alone. We are in this together. So see who you're around. Find the people around you. Maybe form a happiness group. In fact, in that happiness workbook that I have for you, there's instructions there on how you could run a happiness support group or happiness mastermind group on a weekly or monthly basis.
Beautiful, Marci. Thank you so much again. So hang out with the right people. Make a list of people in your local networks that keep you happy, keep you thriving, that you love being around, and set some boundaries for those that don't. It's beautiful words, Marci. Thank you so much, Marci, for taking us through all of those incredible conversations. Marci, we've been talking about happiness for a long time, and I'm sure everybody's really, really happy on this call right now. I know I am. If you had one final message to share with the world that you could shout from the rooftops to every person that can listen to what you're about to say, what would your message be about happiness or about anything you want to share? Well,
there's 2 messages. Number 1 is you can be happy, deeply, truly happy for no reason. And in fact, not only can you, but it's what you're put on the planet for. It's what we're all put on the planet for. So really go for it. And then the second message is, I'm always asked, is that selfish? What about the rest of the world? Why should I focus on this for me? And my answer to that is, it is the least selfish thing you could possibly do to focus on your happiness. Because when you're happier, you're affecting everyone else around you. So I leave you with a Chinese proverb that sums up why I am so passionate about this subject and about all of us living a happier life. And it goes like this. It says, oh my gosh, I've only said it 5,000 times. It's on my living room. Here it goes. Here we go. When there is light in the soul, there will be beauty in the person. When there is beauty in the person, there will be harmony in the house. When there is harmony in the house, there will be order in the nation. And when there is order in the nation, there will be peace in this world. And my prayer and my wish for you and for everyone who's listening right now is that we all experience that inner happiness, that love, that peace in our own hearts. And through that, we contribute to creating peace here on this planet of ours that needs it so much. So it's us that can do it. And I believe it's not an accident that you're here listening to this. Something about this message was meant just for you.
Marci, Shimoff, thank you so much for an incredible conversation today, all about happiness, about the hope that we all have, and about going through the tangible parts of the 7 pillars of happiness so we can all actually move towards the space that we want to be in, which is healthy and happy to be here on this planet. So let's all be happy for no reason. Marci, Shimoff, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining us, for supporting this gathering of world experts, thought leaders, and innovators looking to change the course of the health and wellness of the human race, and for being empowered and actively committed to your own health in mind, body, and spirit. I'm Matt Riemann, and on behalf of all of us at the Personal Health Summit, we thank you for tuning in, and we wish you the utmost personal health and happiness in every day of your life.